Welcome everybody, and a special welcome to Shanaz. Um, this is the penultimate Monday before Shanaz returns to glorious South Africa, glorious sunshine and warmer weather. I'm not too sure about the Western Cape though, but it's
I
certainly
wanted
nice
to
and
say no, I don't think so, eh?
But we've been having some good weather. It was nice to see bright blue skies and feel the sun. It was really great. Last week, um, on during our event, which is, let me just remind you, my life, my business, which I was here, Shanaz was addressing the issue of vulnerability, not just at home, but vulnerability in all places, especially also the workplace. So you can feel free to listen to the playback on Clubhouse, or listen to the edited version on our YouTube channel, the Mufasa Coaching Practice. Now, the previous week, I spoke, 2 weeks ago, I spoke about a winning mindset, especially unpacking the difference between risk and uncertainty. So I thought, well, you know what? Having a winning mindset is more than just tackling risk, not procrastinating because there's a lot of uncertainty and fear, and overcoming that to reach your goals. And I thought, well, there's sort of a broader picture, and I want to just unpack or just broaden out a little bit and just remind everyone listening that there's a range of aspects that incorporates a winning mindset. And in this particular case, I just want to talk about 10 elements today. And none of these things are exhaustive. If you do your research, you'll probably come across more or you come across less. But there's kind of agreement that these are the key elements. And so, with element number one, we're starting off with confidence. And it's quite interesting, is that um, it is essential in order for you to win. And I take it like this: if you take the phrase literally, winning mindset is that you can imagine yourself winning, right? And not focusing on the things that are going to prevent you from achieving your goals, but actually you have no doubt in your own mind that you can and you will win. And that confidence is really about believing in yourself and your abilities. Now, what we are talking about is literally around what you believe your purpose is, what you believe you've been called to do. And it doesn't matter whether you find yourself in some sort of career. I mean, you can assess what your level of engagement is. Now, we've even spoken about what is engagement, is literally some work that you feel so highly rewarding, it's meaningful, and there's passion, and literally you can't wait to wake up in the morning and to go do the work. So, but no matter what, is whether you're just starting out and you don't have enough experience, that self belief is so important. And it starts off with understanding what you value the most, what sits at the very core of you. And if once you know that, you know that when you step into that place, you literally know, but hang on, these are my core values. It broadens out to, but this is what makes me unique, what makes me special, not relative to anybody else, but not taking for granted the gifts and the talents that you've been blessed with. So there's a lot of things that can feed your self-confidence, but it starts with a healthy self-belief. Believe that you can. If you don't let lack of knowledge stop you. Know that you can learn. Know that if you apply yourself, you can get there, right? Um, and yes, and I want to remind you, just know that you've gifted with abilities, and it's not just the learned skills, the things once again that others admire in you. Anyway, that's self confidence. Secondly, it's focus, concentrating on your goals and your priorities, not being sidetracked by any particular event. And that focus also brings an underlying determination to succeed. And how do you do this? You take responsibility. you know, for achieving those goals and setting those priorities. You take responsibility. You don't let circumstances dictate whether you can or not. And then, realize that don't allow other people's behavior to drain your energy as you focus on your goal. Rather seek opportunities to cooperate with people, and no matter who they are. If people are in your ambit, in your circle, find creative ways to work with them to succeed. Thirdly, it's resilience, and it's quite interesting. And what really is it that we talk about? And by the way, we've touched on this topic numerous times already, but so this is just a reminder. But it's how well can you bounce back from setbacks and failures? You know, or do you go into victim mode, into that place where you lose hope, you feel helpless, and the only way for you to go forward is you want to be rescued somehow. Your locus of control shifts from internal to external. So, what is that ability? Do you have it? That there's been a curveball. There's been a curveball, but you accept life, the good, the bad, the ugly, as it comes, and always seeking, well, a silver lining in every single situation. So, um, the worst thing that can happen in any setback and failure is that you've learned a valuable lesson. It's the worst thing, right? And then having a number four, a growth mindset. And the theory would say having a growth mindset means you embrace challenges and you learn from your mistakes, right? You've experimented, you tried something. 2 weeks ago I spoke about sometimes when you're uncertain, you don't have all the facts, you 60% of it, and you need to venture anyway, you need to keep going. You step out there, and in a way, nobody's got a crystal ball, can't see into the future. It's your best guess. All right. And your ability to do as much scenario analysis as possible, assigning probabilities and impact to these things that you are um, really thinking about, that you're brainstorming. So, however, is now, whether we call them challenges or problems, is not to shy away from them. Lean into them, right? And know that when you employ a growth mindset, you know that you're going to learn from every single decision that you take, and the outcomes will highlight um, specifically what you've learned in the process. Then it is engaging with positive self talk. So, and literally, this does not necessarily mean faking it until you make it, but this is encouraging yourself with positive affirmations. We kind of default into the place where we dwell on the things that go wrong, we dwell on the things that we don't have, we dwell on the things that others have that we don't have, and all we're doing is focusing on the gaps, and we never celebrate who we are, right? So, um, you need to learn how to be your best cheerleader. We sometimes look for people to acknowledge our efforts, etc., but it starts with how you cheerlead for yourself. All right, so engage in positive self-talk and encourage yourself. I can do this, I have done this, I've seen this before, look what's happened in the past. I've done this and I had this success, or I've done this, I failed, but look what I've learned, and now I can employ that. And you know the thing about it is, we spoke about number two, which is about focus, but here is that you need to be goal oriented, which means you know what you are focusing on as an outcome. All right, you want to set clear goals and you want to work towards them. So, like in the GPS principle, you know that the GPS is activated once you tell it where you want to be. Focus, right, tells you that once you've decided that, you keep going, and you determine to achieve those things. But here it is to always mindfully ask the question, Where do I want to be? Sometimes we kind of get distracted with, well, with the how. How am I going to get there? How am I going to get there? Yes, but where do you want to be? What's the outcome? Set those goals and then work towards them. Number seven is about adaptability, embracing change and adjusting to new situations. And it's quite interesting. And I mean, we discussed this about a month or so ago, and Shanaz was taking us through when you either immigrate and or whether you just a migrant in terms of just in different places all the time, working from different places, but basically understanding that you made that decision, you find yourself in a new country, is understanding the change. And I just want to say this: it's not just so embracing change is not just about finding yourself in a new environment with new ways of doing things, different cultures, all of those different languages, etc. But it's also internal. All right. um, Wanting to be the change you want to see. We often look at others, and we quick to point out and highlight to others how we want them to change, but always be willing to change, always be willing to get out of our comfort zones, right? Always be willing to step out of our place of familiarity and realize that when we do so, I mean, the real excitement and thrill of doing life, this journey called life, really kicks in. And you know when you find yourself in new situations, now let's just say you're sitting in a job, and there's been a change of management because the company's been bought out, and the new company bring in their own senior management staff, and they come with a different culture because they have different values, core beliefs, and now you have to make that adjustment. You hanker for the good old days where certain things in the old company used to happen, and then suddenly now those things all need to change. I would say being adaptable means you want to show that you are a living human being, not a doing, a being. And as such, we are all built to adapt to changing environments. The evolution of who we are happens with all experiences. Is when we refuse to change, that's when our issues begin to happen. Be adaptable. Number eight, um, is self discipline. And why does one need self discipline? Now, sometimes, I was talking about engagement, and one of the core pillars of being engaged is just having the desire to achieve an outcome, loving what you're doing, having passion, right? Being enthusiastic. But what happens when that passion is no longer there? And you don't feel the love because you get distracted with the setbacks and all these kinds of things that you're experiencing. Is how do you stay motivated and committed to your goals when it now feels more difficult? Now you got to take pains, you got to work your way through the pain. You got to kind of tell yourself. Now, if you think about somebody who goes to the gym, or an athlete, or anybody for that matter, who makes the effort through the pain, it's knowing that if you really stay focused on the gain of why you need to make the effort, why you need to go through the pain, and what is the benefits of going through the pain, you can literally go, yeah, this pain is well worth it because the gain is just around the corner. And those endorphins pumped into your bloodstream makes you want to do it even more so, because you can visualize. That's why winning mindset requires that visualization of success. So that self-discipline of doing things, the self-discipline that even when the flesh is weak, the spirit needs to be absolutely willing, and the spirit needs to discipline the flesh to keep going or to get going, and to stay committed to your goals. And number nine, it's interesting, and some of this is there's such huge overlap. Um, and this one, uh, for example, a growth mindset talks about doing things and making mistakes. Here's the one: is learning from failure. Things didn't pan out the way you wanted to. So it also, I've spoken about being resilient, bouncing back from setbacks and failures, but that bounce back gives you that opportunity to learn, to absolutely learn is every time there's a failure, it is just an opportunity for growth. And then, number 10, it is having mental toughness. And mental toughness is described here as developing emotional strength and stability. And it's quite interesting. And if you listen to our podcast from last week, vulnerability has a huge impact on our emotional strength and our stability. So those are the 10 things that characterizes a winning mindset. Some of it has got some overlaps as we go along, but that's at least the 10 things, right? So what are the tips to help you cultivate a winning mindset? So it starts off with set clear goals. All right. So this is once again very important. Where do you want to be? What is the destination that you are seeking? Is define what success means to you and set specific achievable goals. Now, to sit down and think that, and listen, don't do the research and look at what other people say success is. Now, what is success for you? How would you assess whether or not you are successful? Too many times we look for external affirmation that we are successful, and that social pressure to perform becomes unrealistic. So, firstly, define what success means to you, and then you set clear goals to achieve them. Right? Once again, a reminder: practice positive self-talk. Right? And the way you do that is celebrate your successes. Pause, notice what has just happened. Don't have these moving goalposts. You've achieved something and you move past it so quickly because it's always the next thing that you need to achieve. Is just pause long enough to recognize what you have achieved and celebrate those successes. Let it embed itself in you, because remember, this is what feeds your positive self talk. Now, once again, embrace challenges. Don't hide away from them. Don't lean away from challenges, lean into challenges. View obstacles as opportunities for growth and learning. And then, number 4, focus on the present. And this is an important one. Don't be distracted by what happened in the past. And don't project what happened in the past into the future. So, in both cases, you're trying to avoid what happened in the past because you're anticipating it in the future. No, be present. Concentrate on what you can control and take it one step at a time. And once again, how do you learn from failures? I've mentioned it, but what you do is you also got to pause and you got to kind of do a debrief with yourself or with your team or with your family. Is analyze what's happened, analyze the setbacks, right? Understand what's happened, and it's always a balance. What worked, what didn't work, and then from those failures you can use them then as chances to improve. Now, I mentioned a growth mindset, but do we even understand what it is? And it's a growth mindset is like learning from your challenges, right? Um, so, developing your growth mindset starts with self belief that your abilities can be developed through effort and learning. As you do, so you learn, right? So I know that's heuristic learning, doing, but also studying what makes others a success. It's being inspired, but their ability to think out of the box. Sometimes it's not so much wanting to glean from them a recipe for success, but knowing that they developed a recipe because they were doing something. They were experimenting. They were willing to step out of their comfort zone and try some things. And yes, the trial and error happens. Okay, now visualizing success is very important. Once again, is imagine yourself achieving your goals to boost motivation and confidence. Now, it could be as much as wanting to fit into an outfit that's at least 3 sizes smaller than what you're currently wearing. Visualize that you can do that. Right? See yourself doing it in the right color, the right style, the right brand. But visualize it. Visualize you wearing that thing that makes the effort, the sacrifice, and the self discipline. Um, making it extremely gainful. And then, and something that Shanaz talks a lot about is to practice self care. What is that all about? Is caring enough about your well being to take care of your physical, mental, and emotional states. All right, how are you doing physically? And sometimes we can all go, well, physically I'm sleeping well, I'm exercising, I'm eating well. And then mentally, what's going on in your mind? Are you stressed? Are you worried about things? Are you overwhelmed? Do you feel competent to do the kinds of things that you're doing, right? And then, are you doing your life, are you leading your life calm and joy, peaceful, seeing opportunity in any circumstances, and loving the collaboration with others that brings you joy. And then lastly, staying adaptable, right? Stay adaptable. Be open to change and willing to adjust your approach as needed. And I want to tell you now, is not just adapting to what life throws at you. Be willing to experiment. Be willing to be adventurous. Be willing to, like, for example, I was quite willing to spend a month in some different location to work and see what that will do and how that will pan out, right? Because there's nothing more powerful than finding yourself in a strange place that you don't recognize. You can kind of hear the language is English in my case, and I understand English, but the practices are so different. The rules are so different. And suddenly you got to be very, very present and take note of what is going around you, and feel stretched. The only time that you aren't stretched is the day you've decided to leave this earth. So, just a reminder, a winning mindset is a journey and it's not a destination. It takes time, effort, and practice to develop, but it's entirely worth it. And that's where I'm going to leave it for today. Any thoughts, Shanaz?
I mean, I think that these things are so important to kind of keep in mind when you are wanting to achieve something. And I think that for me, I think that sometimes what happens, if I can think of my own experience, is that sometimes I can lose the joy in the whole process. And also then, get distracted by the things on the way to achieving what I wanted to achieve. So I think that this was just a really good time, almost like a reset again, about how I think about certain things. And the several things that I really like that you mentioned. And so true. A lot of these things, when I've applied it in my life, it absolutely works. And but it also kind of helps me, gives you time out to think about what haven't I thought about with certain goals that I'm needing to, that I'm wanting to achieve. And the focusing on the gain, and not the pain I've written. I think that I can get distracted. I think as people, when I've engaged with people, um I think that as humans we are so easily distracted, and we are not geared. In fact, when I think about how the brain is put together, the brain automatically wants to take you away from the discomfort and away from the pain, so it will create things to distract you. And so how to get back on track by not focusing on that is really important.
Yeah, and I mean, there's the follow on from this conversation is, which is interesting, is that resilience part, your ability to bounce back. What is interesting is, and this is something that you spoke about at length in different ways, is identify and build a support network. People that are positive and supportive and help you highlight your special abilities and your gains. And the other thing that we even spoken about also is practicing mindfulness. All right. Making sure in the moment you're seeing the wonder and the beauty of where you are, and there's beauty always, doesn't matter where you find yourself. And then, how often don't we catch ourselves breaking ourselves down, giving in to the inner critic? Oh, that gremlin voice that tells you you're just not good enough. And and we would say, you must identify it's your voice, it's not the devil telling you you're not good enough. It's that inner critic, your inner critic voice telling you you're not good enough. Is give it a name, whatever that name. Just don't call it Satan or devil. Give it a name so that you can kind of recognize when that voice comes up and says, you're not good enough, you failed before, you're going to fail again. Is you can talk to that. You can actually say, well, thank you for highlighting that, but I don't agree with you. I'm not giving you permission to break me down any further. And it's very, very important, right? um, and then just that last little thing about celebrating small wins. Once again, I've mentioned it before. I must say it again. Bounce back ability means you acknowledge and also celebrate your achievements to build momentum. And I'm a momentum person. I will talk about what's the exact first step and then the next step and keep going. Start small, but get your momentum going. So, you know when I did this, it was quite interesting, is that they were recommending some books to support this, and it's in the book that I reference it of it doesn't even reference that book, and it says there are three books that this piece of literature recommends. One is Mindset by Carol S. Dweck, Dweck. And then guess what? A good old favorite, Stephen Covey's one, The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. There's also The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, Tolle. And then TED Talks, and this is what was so interesting, Chanel, is that Amy Cuddy does a TED Talk on your body language shapes who you are. And then Brene Brown, The Power of Vulnerability. It is so aligned with the things we talk about. And lastly, Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance by Angela Duckworth. So, yeah, I think as you were talking, Shanaz, is um, not to be distracted by the pain, to understand the gain, the effort, that self-discipline. When we're trying to change, we trying to live, or employ a food plan. I'm trying not to call it diet, but yes, let's say a diet, but it's sort of more eating plan more than anything else. But you want to follow an eating plan, and you're looking at the things that are so lovely to eat, but things that you know not good for you, is to understand what that sacrifice means, and you can learn to love it. It's because you can see it, you can visualize outcomes, you can see how it's going to generate the goal that you want to achieve.
Yeah, and I wanted to add, for me, I think the research that is coming out very strongly over the past 2 years is actually that finding your tribe and the support in your goal is getting people to support that has shown to be one of the most effective ways to achieve a goal,
Mm.
and particularly related to eating plans and fitness, etc. That's been shown. And but I tend to think that this goes for all goals, for the vast majority of goals, that when you find that group and that support, it absolutely takes you towards the achievement of that goal.
Oh, absolutely. Excellent. So our time is up, and we thank you for listening. We thank you for those insightful comments as usual, Shanaz. And until next week, you will be talking still from the UK. So
Yes,
we'll make it
I
an
will be.
absolute
Yeah.
special occasion.
Okay. Thanks, Sean.
All right,
Okay. Thank
then.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.